Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Paulo. I am a designer from Portugal and sometimes from some other places. And today we're going to be talking about the value of mentorship. And this is a talk to an event that we're doing inside the Level Up program of Talent Protocol. So a mentorship program that Talent Protocol is developing for people to, as the name say, level up with mentorship. We're going to just do a basic hangout talking about some mentorship stories, and I've invited some people to share their stories and to talk a little bit about mentorship as well. And I encourage everybody to ask questions, so you can ask your questions in the chat, and maybe we'll interrupt and ask the question, and I'll be keeping an eye on that, so be free to type questions and as soon as something sparkles in the conversation for you. Introductions. I'm Paulo, already said that. We have Harita, Mindaugas, and Andrea. This is a very eclectic group of people that I've been meeting throughout the years in very different places. When I was doing design events and having my own UX design company, I've met a while ago, I don't know how long ago, Mindaugas. And like 6-7 years ago or something, I don't know, whatever. And he was also doing design events at the time. And Mindaugas, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of who you are?
Here we go. It wasn't letting me unmute. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Paulo. Yeah, I think we met in 2016 through Pedro, who invited me to an event in Lisbon. Yeah, and now I live here. So thanks for that. Appreciate it. So hey everyone, I'm Mindaugas. I work at a company called RnDAO, building. I joined to build a design community. I now run and build multiple communities. So design, engineering, no code, data science, and product management. And I've been building communities for the last few years. And yeah, through that, I've found some mentors. I've been a mentor to others. So this was a no-brainer when Paulo asked me to join.
All right. Then I think I met Harita next. Was trying to come up with help come up with a design school, and it was a very crazy, very alternative design school. And one of the few people that risk applying to it and moving to Portugal to participate on it was Harita. So Harita, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey everyone, so names and everything, I'm Harita and I work as a UX writer at Ledger, and I recently moved to Paris to be able to work at Ledger full time. So I transitioned to I'm fairly new to the world of digital design. I did the transition from being a lawyer to entering the world of digital design in 2018. And that's where I met Paulo, because I opted to go to a design school. It was a year-long course. And one of the best decisions in my life was to latch myself onto Paulo and make him my mentor. I've benefited a lot from being a mentee, especially in terms of having transitioned rather late into digital design and building up my confidence and having the skill set and knowing what I'm good at. So definitely had to be a part of this session, and I'm super happy that I am.
Everybody is surprised that a lawyer can turn into a UX designer. But actually, there's a lot of things in common, and specifically the ability to ask the right questions and really drill down into what are the deep causes of things. Then more recently, I've been more involved in the Web3 world and the world of DAOs and so on. And I've met Andrea initially in Aragon, I think. I think our first contact was that you interviewed me to a research project on Aragon. And then we started to work together on RnDAO, and we're doing RnDAO as a research and development DAO. And Andrea, tell us a bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So I've actually been in this web user experience thing for a long time. I started in Web 1 back in like 97, 95, early on. And one of my first sort of major jobs, sort of not startup-y jobs, was with a consulting company back when there were no user experience designers, or there's a very few. So one of the things that I learned is that there's something about bringing people in, spotting the talent and the innate skills that might not be trained, but who brings something fascinating from the background they do have. I hired a lot of writers. I love the idea of the lawyer background. I saw, a lot of other designers. But then what did I need to know? And what was like that core skill? And then how do you build it up? So I've enjoyed a lot of mentoring through my years. Some of it in sort of the large standard corporate environments. So consulting is one, but also like at Intuit and Google and other places where often what you're mentoring is not so much the skills as the actual work skills as the how do I negotiate that environment. And I've also done some teaching at a more established design school. And it's great watching, and also being able to keep in touch with those students over the years to check in. Where are you? What see the growth?
Nice. Yes. Okay. So introduction's done. Kind of already have an overview on who is who. Again, I remind people that you can ask questions in the chat whenever you want, and I'll be kind of handling that and moderating that. So Harita, Mindaugas, Andrea, which one of you, which one of you wants to pick this up and start sharing? I want to ask you what is the first crazy story that you remember, not necessarily crazy, but more impressive story from mentorship, either in your roles as mentees or mentors, or managing relationship between these two types of people. What is a cool story that you would be okay sharing? And whoever wants to go first.
I'll kick off, partly because I'm unmuted and I'm scared to mute myself. I sort of mentioned it in the introduction. I really love doing career transitions, like helping people through those transitions. And we had someone a few years ago who was looking to go from being sort of a low-level product manager in software and moving into design. And so I was actually her I was like her manager. So I brought her in, she reported to me. But a lot of that relationship was around sort of spotting the existing super scale talent she had around, managing people and being clear with the rest of the team and forming that vision, and the stuff that she still had to work on, and helping her be okay with, well, I've done a lot of design and art on my own. This design process is a little bit different, or the skills I'm using. I have to accept that I'm an expert here, but a novice here. And in the years since, I've just loved watching her grow, becoming very confident in her new role, passing on that ability to bring people in and manage others. So I think what I love is that mentorship ability to knit the skills together. Mentoring isn't about teaching. It's not like, okay, let me teach you how to do this thing. It's about what do you have now, and how can you knit it together to be more powerful than you thought you could be.
That sounds really cool. Yeah, we were talking about Harita's background as a lawyer and transitioning to design, and I had just mentioned one of the things was the ability to ask the right questions that I think lawyers have, right? Because they have to have it at a higher degree in front of a jury and all that. So Harita, do you want to share something about that?
Yes, I've been trying to unmute myself for a while. It just wasn't happening.
I'm sorry about the the muting settings on this call, but yeah, somehow I end up controlling it.
I forgive you, Paulo. It's totally fine. No, actually, so this is a situation, right? So I transitioned from having been a lawyer, and that's true. Like, I was good at asking questions, but I never really knew that I was good at asking questions. I just, like, when I moved, like, as a lawyer, I did, like, I had to be inquisitive. I had to be the devil's advocate. I had to place myself in the shoes of my clients and anticipate all sorts of questions that could be asked, that he could be bombarded with. So when I moved to design, I moved with an empty head. I didn't even know what UI and UX stood for. So that's what I'm saying. Like, one of the best decisions for me was realizing that I'm not a self-starter. I usually do better when someone's there helping me and telling me, okay, this is like guiding me, not necessarily educating me. And that is, so I placed that bet on the school, this unconventional school in Portugal that was specifically sort of targeting people who wanted to transition from whatever profession that they were in into digital design. And that's where I met Paulo. And that's where he made me realize that my ability to ask questions, it's nothing to be taken lightly. It's something that I can very seriously capitalize on, and it does give me an edge. So I came away with a lot of aha moments with Paulo. You know, not real. First and foremost, like, coming in like with no background in design, with already a bunch of my classmates who are super good with computer sciences and have studied that, you know, professionally and whatnot, and I've had some jobs in the past. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna suck. Imposter syndrome, like I was literally wearing the whole imposter syndrome thing and it's carrying around my back. Like, okay, this is not for me. I'm gonna suck. But this is what Paulo really helped me with. He helped me realize that I don't suck. Starters, and then sort of giving me the frameworks and the methodologies to hone my skills. He wasn't just putting me up on a tree in terms of like, oh, you're really good at this, this, and that. He was giving me a reality check. He was giving me, he was throwing light on aspects of my work and my skills that need more work, and the ones which are already at a good level, that it's so much so that I don't have to keep doubting myself. And because as a lawyer, I was always good at public speaking, but since like I'm telling you, imposter syndrome can be such a bitch. Like, pardon my French. So trying to interview, especially the interview processes, I can understand how cripplingly it can really cripple the best of the best. All interview processes, it renders me an absolute nervous wreck. And Paulo has been instrumental in making me realize that the knowledge that I have is more than enough to sail me through the interview process. And if a company doesn't want me, it's better for me to not desire a company like that, because you already know there's a bit of a mismatch. So just helping me realize my skills, how good I am at them. And also there have been moments in my life where I've doubted myself, especially when things haven't gone down super well with companies. And that's where he's come in and sort of helped me place the carpet back underneath my feet. You know, it's gotten to a point where when I first met Paulo, I was like, oh, wow, this person, I'm not going to mess with him. And it's come to a point where whenever he's complimenting me and my work, I'm like, stop, you're like my mom.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. By the way, I'm sorry if this call is beginning to sound like, oh, Paulo is such a mentor, blah, blah, because Paulo is not that good. And also Paulo needs mentors himself. And so we have almost all year, all the letter, and Andrea has been acting like my mentor lately, and I've shared that with her because I've been working with her and just observing as a delight. And also, George, are you there? Because George has just joined, and can you?
Yes, I am here.
Can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
All right. So I say I am almost here, or almost all of me is here, because I'm under the weather. I have a serious case of flu. I hope you guys don't catch my bugs. And I was wondering whether I could participate, but I came in just in case if I can contribute something.
I'm sure you can. So George has been very involved with mentorship. He has his own like mentorship program, and he mentors people. Do you want to share a little bit about that, George?
Yeah, I start with the first principle that everybody can be a mentor if we are ready to share with others or journey the key lessons from it, and acknowledging also that real good mentoring is always cross mentoring. So I've been doing mentoring professionally for 30, 40 years, and my best experiences always were the best because I learned just as much from the process as my mentees. Because if I am committed to the development of the fuller capabilities of the other person, then it is a continuous learning process for myself also, because how can I do that? What does it require from me to have enough empathy and enough generative listening? Generative listening is more than empathic or compassionate listening, is being able to see the other person to the fullest manifestation of her or his potential, even if the other person doesn't see yet herself in that way. So holding that mirror to him, seeing him or her from the future is one of the jobs of a mentor. And I have two kinds of mentoring presently. Because there's a lot of possibility to do mentoring work. There is a lot of need for that also, which is a good sign. But I have only limited energies and limited time. So I have to prioritize. And the way I prioritize is by two criteria. One is to support those who serve the most. In other words, visionary leaders with track record of accomplishment, and so in relation to them is how can I bring my talents and sensibilities to amplify the impact of their work on the world. Excuse me.
Don't worry. By the way, thank you, George, for still being here despite the flu, and I wish you all the best, obviously. And thank you for your sharing. I wrote in the chat one thing you said, which is seeing the mentee from the future is one of the jobs of the mentor. And sometimes when sometimes when I'm mentoring someone, I even get a bit irritated because like I see it so clearly that this person has the potential, and I'm like, no, but you're so good in this thing. And the person sometimes is like, oh, but I'm not sure. And but I think it's really one of the core things that the mentor can do. And I would also say that people can look for George's writing and to understand also a little bit of what it means when he's talking about this relationship between mentors and mentees, which I think is very informative as well, specifically about teal mentorship and how that could work. And just a little aside, George is also known as Techno Shaman in Discord and Twitter and so on, and so you can also try to find him from there. I want to ask Mindaugas to share. So you've from what I've known you know a bunch of people, especially in the design world, from organizing all these events and now on deck from organizing all these cohorts and different courses and so on. I know you understand the power of mentorship, and so you probably have seen a bunch of cool stories about it, or at least interesting stories. Do you want to share one or two?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a ton, because the way kind of we've structured our community is you join and you're surrounded by these resources. There's a whole team. There's design leaders that we have on the team that kind of are there available. And I think that, so there's a bunch of success stories. I think the key difference I see, though, there's a lot of people that join the community, and one of their expectations is to be matched with a mentor. And I always specifically say that that should never be an expectation, because I think, and I actually had a question for the group afterwards. I'd be curious to see how folks view how does a good mentorship relationship start? Because we've talked about a little bit like, it happening. I'm always curious to hear like stories of how did it begin, because I think that's where a lot of people struggle. Like, how do I find a mentor? I'm being told I need to find a mentor, but like, do I just ask somebody? How does that work? Like, because that's awkward. And then they could say no. Likely they'll say no. So like, how do you go about it? So the thing that I've seen work really well is folks joining the program and spending the time first building the relationship with either their peers or the design leaders that we have on the team, and not explicitly asking them upfront, do you want to be my mentor? But instead kind of finding that personality match, whatever that may be, and naturally just drawing the other person into it. Because I know that's happened to me with some folks in the past too. Like my own personal one would be a few years ago, I joined this platform called Out of Office Hours. And it was basically to match people who wanted to give back their time to others who are maybe transitioning careers or early stage in their careers. And so people could book time with me. I would set aside like 30 minutes every Friday. And I had a ton of conversations through that. But most of them, I would say 95% were just that one conversation. I would always keep it open, like you can feel free to follow up with me. Some people will follow up over email. But one person just kind of drew me in. He just seemed to either, I don't know if he had like a strategy or was just a natural thing, but the way he'd follow up was the thing I was curious about. So like to George's point, I think learning as much as the other person, like having your curiosity spark is the thing that kind of catches you. And so he did that really well, and he would follow up. He would, he didn't ask for too much, and it just kind of worked. And to this day, 6 years later, maybe I'd say we're good friends, and still, I'm still his mentor because he still asks me for specific things. But at the same time, I actually go to him for certain things too, because he's now a founder, and I have some questions sometimes, or I have other founders who I'm maybe working with, and I want to introduce them. So it's become, that exactly that kind of relationship where you learn as much as you give.
Yeah, what George called cross mentorship. I would also say that I never view myself when being a mentor as someone altruistic. I think there is that idea usually, but I do it, and it's the same reason why sometimes I teach courses or workshops or whatever. Is because on doing that, there's so much to be learned in the process, and also so much to be learned from the other person that I improve as well as a mentor, right? And I think it would ease the pressure from people looking for a mentor to maybe also look at things that way. Like, you're not just asking them for a favor, you're also, it's a two-way relationship, and you can also give something back, even if you're not sure what it is at the moment. Dre, do you want to build on that?
One of the things I'm really thinking about is sort of I'm absolutely with George and Mindaugas on my mentorship relationships have been sort of just evolved and sort of came out of sort of who was around in the group, what kind of relationship we had. Maybe there were in a certain organization, but in different parts of it and things like that. They're looking for perspective that they didn't have. So absolutely, it's about sort of having a relationship also anyways, which is another plug for the try to make friends, try to connect with the people that you are working with. Don't rely on some system to do that for you. I've participated in some organizations that had formal mentorship and mentee matching kind of things, and they always kind of fall flat. So I think that it definitely is an emergent characteristic. On the flip side, it's a lot easier than something like formal teaching. And I think it's easier partly because the two things that the mentees really need are, like George says, is to ask the questions, right? You know, asking those hard questions that they can't quite ask themselves. They can't force themselves to answer it, and you kind of can. Though, really, you know, what matters more to you in your career, this or that? Where do you, like, what's your strength, and what are those strengths that you aren't, what are the weaknesses that you're not willing to tell somebody else about, that you're worried about? Those kind of questions that you can ask in a private conversation. And then the other thing they want is stories, right? And we all have stories. Like, let me tell you, oh yeah, yes, the closest thing to that is, let me tell you about the time when I blew this thing up, or this is this other project that like went off the rails, and this is why I think it happened. And so you have that reservoir of stuff to give that you think that you don't, but you really do.
Yep, that definitely resonates. I'm trying to see if people are asking questions on the chat or not. I don't think they are. There's some comments. George commented the difference between coach and mentor, with the difference between telling people what to do and not. George, do you want to expand on that? Our mentor is supposed to act, and the differences between coaching and mentor.
Yeah, it's people frequently use synonymously coaching and mentoring, and in my experience, it's two very different kind of process. The coaching metaphor comes from the sport, where the coach is advising the player how to improve her performance. So the coach is focusing on the development of better skills, better performance, and doing so, he can give advice. Why don't you try this or that? The mentor, the work of the mentor is not focused on developing skills, but developing the whole human being. That's a very different game. And, because of that, the mentor, the work of the mentor is not focused on developing skills, but developing the whole human being. That's a very different game. And, because of that, 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 because of that the mentor would never tell that you should do this or that. She would just ask those generative, not any kind of questions, but those well-crafted generative questions that can help the other person discover what he or she needs to do next. So a corollary to what I am saying is, of course, that a mentor can accompany anybody to only that stage of development that himself or herself already reached. There would be no point to aim at helping somebody reach a stage of development that it's only an aspiration for myself also. So I guess I stop here. It sounds as some high-level principles. They are, but if we have time and interest later, why don't you challenge me with good questions?
Yeah, exactly. And picking up on that and how people can start mentorship relationships. And by the way, taking into account that we are in the context of there is Talent Protocol. Talent Protocol is developing a mentorship program where people will find mentors and get mentored by and try it out. And one of the things that I guess I would say here that Drea started, that Drea said, which is it needs to start as a friendship almost, right? And so I would recommend for people that are looking for mentorship to, if you all are up to it, to reach out to Harita, Mindaugas, Andrea, George, and start striking a conversation with them and see where it goes. Because as Mindaugas said, if you just say, "Hi, you want to be my mentor?" the conversation is going to be pretty short, probably. And so it shouldn't. That's not how you should do it if you want to have the best outcome, right? Harita, do you want to share how you look for mentors? Because I've always thought that you have a knack for getting mentors to mentor you. And I'm not just talking about myself, I'm talking about some other mentors that you've had as well.
I've definitely been pretty lucky that way, in the sense that I've had several mentors through my life across different facets of my life. And it's never started with me looking for a mentor. It's just started with me building relations with the people who were in a position that they knew more in terms of whatever it is that I was pursuing. And then just being who I was, as cliche as that sounds, but just being curious, right? Like just being curious, going up to them, taking the lead in terms of like not holding back when it comes to asking questions, no matter how dumb they were. Not afraid to make, not really scared to make a fool of myself, although maybe in that moment I didn't realize I was making a fool of myself. So it's never started with me specifically looking for mentors. It's just started as a good relationship back and forth. It was never just like me receiving a lot of knowledge and information. It was also the other person going like, oh wow, this is interesting. I never thought of it that way. So I would say that it's very essential that when you know that when you made a conscious decision in your mind that, okay, you would benefit a lot from having a mentor in a given area, it would really be, I would really recommend that you first understand what works for you and what kind of person can provide that to you best. Like for example, for me, what works best is positive affirmations. Like once you let me know that you trust me to do something, you know for a fact that I would just give my 200% to make that work. And I'm basically, the mentor basically comes in that point to let me know that he trusts me and giving me some tools and know-hows, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna take it from here, you know. And someone who just doesn't berate me for having made a mistake or two, or for having like not been abreast with a certain topic, not knowing enough. That comfort zone is just so important. The comfort zone to mess up, and for a fact that the person's gonna, they're not gonna like intimidate me. They're not gonna just be like, oh, this is bad, this is horrible, you should have known better. That's a complete no. So understand what works for you, understand what's your personality type, and try to match that with the person that you're trying to look for in a mentor. That really pays off. That really pays off. So just like someone who's chill with you being dumb, I guess, long story short.
Yeah, I would maybe also add that if people are looking for a mentor and they face this kind of behaviors from a mentor, they should also think twice if they want to continue the relationship, right? I mean, not everybody is suitable, let's say, to be a mentor or to mentor somebody else. And mentoring somebody else is actually kind of a bit scary of a responsibility as well. And it should be taken with a degree of responsibility, I would say. I just walked out a little bit just to fetch this thing that Andrea just recommended. And what I think it's more impressive, the most impressive thing about this book is that it was not written by the $1 trillion coach. It was written by the mentees of the $1 trillion coach after he died. And so as a tribute almost. And this was a guy that was actually a coach, like he started as a sports coach, but then he mentored Steve Jobs and Eric Schmidt and a bunch of other people from the biggest technology companies in Silicon Valley. And they call him the $1 trillion coach because maybe because of him, $1 trillion worth of companies were created, right? And so it's a very cool story.
Let me build on that a little bit. The reason I suggested that is, so I did a lot of mentoring within Intuit, and Intuit is another one of those companies where Bill coached the founder, then became CEO, and then left, and then coached the future CEOs. And I have friends who were coached by him. And it's not so much that he was the coach, it's that he created an environment that understood mentorship. And when he was coaching, I mean, the distinction between your role when your job is to make the whole team win is different than when I am about you, that individual. And how can I help you achieve what you want to do? And I think what's really interesting is that it's about the caring that he was visible with, and also the willingness to deal with the tension and the hard things.
I think that's what he is most known for, actually, because the famous story is like he put Steve Jobs and Eric Schmidt talking when they were not talking with each other. Blah blah blah. There is a question from Torsten, and what is the difference to friends? Do mentors start as friends? Can I start calling my friends mentors? It didn't ask the last part, but I just added it on. Anybody want to take an answer to that?
I'll do my short one and then make sure somebody else says. I've had more people go from mentee to friend than friend to mentee.
All right. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, George, go ahead.
There is certainly some parallel, some analogy between a good friendship and mentorship, but the difference is that not every friendship is developmental. So a developmental friendship is, friends are people who know that they can count on each other's, count on for support to each other's well-being. That's friendship. Developmental friendship is where people can count on each other's support to not only each other's well-being, but well-becoming. That's not the same. Like well-being is that I am okay. Well-becoming is that I am on my journey for realizing my fuller potentials, and that's what developmental friendships can support. Now, mentoring is a form of developmental friendship in which one person is dedicating more of his attention and energy, more commitment to the other person. So it's not fully, it doesn't have to be fully reciprocated.
Right. It doesn't need to be 50-50 split in terms of commitment. I actually would share that I've only realized that I was a mentor to Harita when she did her own personal website, and there was a section there about mentors, and my face was there, and I was like, oh yeah, actually, yeah, maybe I am a mentor. But up until that point, we were just talking, and I was trying to help her, and so on and so on. So the moment of formalization, I guess, was a little bit after we started doing this. Anybody want to add something on there as well? Mindaugas, do you want to go? You said you also had a mentorship relationship that was now a friendship.
Yeah, but I was gonna just add to kind of what you said about your relationship, mentoring relationship with Harita. Those are always the best, right? Where it's not even stated, really. You kind of both, or maybe you didn't know, but you weren't, whenever you were helping somebody out, you weren't like, oh, why is this person like keeps asking me questions? You were just, you were involved, right? You were, so to me, like those are the best kind of relationships. It doesn't even need to be mentioned. It doesn't need to be framed. I'm a mentor, you're my mentee, and that's just my point of view. But I think, yeah, there was a question there. What's the difference between friends? I feel like, yeah, there's similar to Andrea, is I have more mentees that became friends than the opposite. But there was always this kind of, something always happens at the beginning where you end up, you feel like you're like match as the two people, right? And you continue talking in some way. It doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like a burden. There's like a specific intention behind the relationship, and then yeah, it can turn into friendship, but it might not.
So the conclusion, folks, is that if you want to make friends, you can start with a mentorship relationship. No, I'm joking.
You can,
but maybe you can. It's actually interesting. I was talking with Harita on Sunday, I think, and I mentioned that most of the times I would get these messages from Harita saying, and sorry for disclosing this, message from Harita saying, oh shit, I'm gonna have an interview. I need you to help me with someone, like with an urgency tone to them. And I was like, okay, yes, okay, let's go do it. And I was excited about doing it. And now more recently, it's not just about that. It's also about, oh, how are you doing? What's up? And so on. And more not just about the professional part of things, but also personal part of things and so on. So I guess mentorship relationships can evolve, and they can start in one place, go to the other place, and back and forth. But I do think that from what everybody else said, there must be some kind of compatibility, right? And some kind of either that's, personalities that align, or you just like the person or whatever. And I guess it comes down to trust, right? If you trust that person from the beginning, then it's more easy to establish that relationship. And that trust can come from, recognized expertise, or, oh, that person said something that really resonated to me in that moment, or whatever it is, right? So it can come from a bunch of places. So I would say for someone that's looking for mentorship to be aware of those triggers, of those indications of, this person seems someone like I could trust and listen advice from, and then start to build a relationship upon that. Go ahead, Mindaugas.
Yeah, just to add to that, last year so if you think about like a mentoring relationship is free and somebody dedicates their time, and therefore you need that, like you need that compatibility there. Last year I was looking for to hire a leadership coach, and I went for advice to somebody, and they said something I didn't even think of. She said to me, you should shop around. She said all coaches will allow you to book like 30 minutes, an hour, and you should spend some time doing that to find a compatible coach. And I went, oh, I just assumed, well, they're providing a service that I'm going to pay for, and therefore I should be able to just hire someone. So if a paid coach, you should still go and shop around and find the person to find that kind of match. Then I think in a mentor-mentee relationship, that's even more crucial.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a procurement process of like
a little bit, yeah. Luckily,
it's
the person I went to advice for, she ended up being my coach, so I didn't have to do that.
And that was a sales strategy, and it worked. Yes.
Yeah.
I need to go ahead.
No, I'm saying the thing is, it can also turn into a vicious industry, like capitalizing on the need for mentors and mentees. So watch out for that, because, for example, quite recently I was doing a course on bettering my UX writing, and as a part of that course, they were offering mentors. I was very excited about it. But then as soon as I saw that, okay, you have 5 sessions with this mentor during the duration of a 6-month course, it was immediately discouraging for me. I'm like, so I'm supposed to bring my thoughts together and put it all in and span it across 5 sessions. What if I have questions after that? It was just so limiting to see that.
Should they invested in Tesla before electric?
You mean Harita, I think you mean the transactional aspect of it, right?
Exceedingly, like the transactional. I mean, there's so many people who are paid. Like, mentorship is valuable. A lot of people are acknowledging it. It's not something that just came up recently. It's been there for a long time, but there are more and more people trying to capitalize on that, and they're just turning it into packages, right? So it just takes away from the very essence of mentorship. That is just being able to just establishing the comfort to just ask as many questions as you want, be who you are, and find someone that you're willing to be accountable to. That cannot come in a price package. So just be very wary of that. And if you feel that kind of discomfort from any of these coaching programs or whatever programs that you're finding on the internet, I would say it's better to not go for them.
All right. To wrap it up, I would like to ask each one of you, what is the value of mentorship to you? Is it valuable? It is valuable? It's not valuable? How valuable it is? And just for you to share some reflections on how do you think mentorship played a role in your lives. Harita, do you want to start?
Thanks for unmuting.
Yes, sorry.
So no, like I said, I've had mentors back when, even when I was working as a lawyer and as a designer, and I was a UX writer and a researcher. I've been across a couple of blocks, and I would say that mentorship has seriously paid off for me in a couple of things, like putting me in touch with a network, right? Helping me realize what I'm good at, but most importantly, it has helped me nip imposter syndrome in the bud, because right now, for example, I'm the only UX writer for Ledger. I'm bearing like a gazillion responsibilities. I'm being stretched out across the organization. I'm helping lay the foundation for UX writing in that company, and it's huge. Like every now and then my brain just stops, and like just a brief conversation with Paulo helps me realize how valuable I am. Right? All of us are prone to those moments of weakness where we start questioning our skills. And no matter how senior you are, doesn't really matter. We have that. And just having another person give you that reality check, right? Making you realize what's your worth and that you just need to trust yourself, take a step back, and even advise you in terms of, okay, this is where you know that you're being exploited, or this is where you know that your plate is not infinite, right? Like you've got a limited plate, you've got to be careful about the amount that you're taking in. So this is really what mentorship has helped me with. And trust me, if a mentor helps you equip yourself with confidence, there's not much you cannot do. So the key to how do you know mentorship has been successful? You're confident about what you're doing, at least for me. So that's my takeaway.
Yes, you can become the UX writer at Ledger, while a few years ago you were a lawyer. Exactly. I mean, there's a great story in Harita's story. So it's not nothing, of course. Andrea?
I'll do the flip side because I think Harita expressed the value as a mentee perfectly.
Yes.
What I love is, again, as a mentor, is the network. You know, I have my network from my mentors, and then I have the network from my mentees, and that's really powerful. And because they're connected to things that I don't know anymore. You know, they have gone off someplace else and now they know something new, and that's a network, and it's great. And the other thing is what George talked about, that often it's easier to hold somebody else sort of their feet to the fire than to do it to yourself. And so whenever I push a mentee to do something hard, it turns around on me as like, oh, maybe I should do that too. So there's a lot of growth in there.
Yeah, I feel the same. Sometimes I'm saying something to Harita, for example, I'm like, yeah, maybe you should listen to your own advice, Paulo. That's maybe something you should work on as well. Mindaugas, you want to go next?
Sure. I think, yeah, as a mentee, thinking about like a specific or some specific situations in my own career is like having built up a relationship with a mentor, and maybe sometimes agonizing over something, a specific decision for like a couple of weeks, right? And then sending a message and them just replying with one question and like unlocking the thing that you've been stuck on for 2 weeks, like that's invaluable.
Yeah. And that's not unheard of, right? I mean,
No.
Usually the time frames that you're talking about seems to me pretty correct. Yeah, exactly. Cool. George, do you want to contribute and share what is the value of mentorship to you and in your life?
Yeah, as a mentee, I was lucky to have a couple of really good mentors in my life, and most of them were more like spiritual counselors, connecting me with the deeper source of life and evolution in me. And there was also one who was very good at asking tough questions that was tough for me because they saw something in me that I didn't see at the time when they asked. For example, I was heavily involved with running a virtual university with all the administrative tasks, and my mentor asked, George, this is what you really want to do with your life. And I was so involved with the day-to-day operations that I just didn't ask that question from myself. But when he did, it was a game-changing moment for me, shifted me to recognize and reconnect with a deeper longing in my life. And as a mentor, I find the greatest value in mentoring young hopefuls, emergent leaders. Why is it so rewarding? Because I can learn more from them. They keep me on my toes, and it's always, there is a intergenerational learning aspect to it that is very precious to me.
Awesome. We are wrapping up. does anybody in the audience of this Zoom call have some other question that you want to ask? And you can raise your hand, unmute, and ask it, and we'll try to answer it. If not, I'm gonna volunteer someone randomly. So, like Francisco, Liao.
I think there's a volunteer.
Oh yes, Focus Violet. Go ahead.
Hi everyone, good evening. It's been amazing here having to learn a lot of values from you. Looking forward to learn from you. So my question is, we have a lot of mentors with different pattern of impacting on their mentees. How long should a mentee actually look towards getting impact from his mentor after having built such relationship with the mentor? Say, a year, 2 years, 3 years. Like, how long should he wait to get impact? That's my question.
All right. I guess maybe we could hear you just a little bit, but I guess I understood the question, so I'm going to repeat it. Okay. So Focus Pilot asked, how long could be the life expectancy of a mentorship relationship between mentors and mentee? Could it be one month, 1 year, 3 years, 4 years? What would be our answer to that? Andrea, go ahead.
I'll add on that I also heard, like, when should a mentee expect to see some impact?
Right.
And I think that's a really hard question. I think, like, Mindaugas' story of, you struggle for 2 weeks and then you get like this question that makes you go, aha, is a good one, meaning you should get that impact right away. But that impact is going to be in yourself, not necessarily in changing you and your career and things like that. That's two parts of the system, not just one. If you are not getting those aha moments from those conversations with a mentee, I think that's a good sign to keep looking.
Yep.
Because it's about giving yourself strength. It's not about, so it's about the value that it provides inside yourself. It's not about, oh, wait a second, I just got a new job.
Mindaugas, George, Harita, do you want to add?
Yeah, the life expectancy is not necessarily a continuous streak. I have mentoring relationship that lasted for a couple of years. Then the guy felt that it's ready to go on his own, alone. And then from time to time, he is coming back to me asking questions and engaging me in conversations. So it became an ongoing friendship, informal.
Yeah. Harita, Mindaugas, anything else?
Right. So I think the life expectancy, it's something that directly ties in with how well you connect with your mentor, because at one point it ceases to be like a mentor-mentee thing, and it just becomes like, oh, I just want to inform this person who's invested so much into my future and into my skills, what's going on, and like it builds off of that. So maybe the whole professionalism, when it initially starts out, might go on for a couple of months to years, but over time it just morphs into something else, morphs into something that's more leisurely, much more relaxed. I mean, if you found the right mentor who you feel that comfortable with, this is what's likely to happen, where it slowly sort of transforms into like, okay, like I trust you and I just want to talk to you on a person-to-person basis, and just the formality sort of drops. So yeah, the life expectancy, I would say, is directly proportionate to the mentor matching your personality type and how that evolves over time.
Yeah,
Right.
I would totally agree with that. And the person I texted after 2 weeks, I can give a very specific example. It's like, I will invite him to my birthday, but I will also text him and say, hey, I'm having this very specific leadership I know you've done this before. Do you have any advice? It's two different worlds, but it's the same person.
Right. We're about to wrap up. Thank you so much for being here, the speakers and everybody else that was attending as well. This was actually really, really fun, and I hope you enjoyed the different perspectives that we try to bring in. I will leave maybe with a request from everybody else. If you're looking for a mentor, reach out to these people here and strike up a conversation with them and see where it goes. Talent Protocol is setting up this mentorship program. They're also going to be doing things about that. And so if you wanna get more into mentorship, you can start today. Thank you so much, everybody. You can find everybody's contacts somewhere, specifically in the Luma page of the event. And see you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.